In's car, I found a bottle of male enhancement spray. But we hadn't been intimate in 3 years. My heart pounded, and I realized I'd left the bug spray in the car. The next day, the hospital called, saying Marcus had been rushed to the emergency room. He'd collapsed in the car after inhaling toxic fumes. It had been raining lately, and the garage was infested with roaches. We'd tried all sorts of insecticides and roach traps, but nothing worked. A friend recommended a Japanese imported bug spray to me. It was small but incredibly potent. When got home from work, I grabbed the spray, eager to eradicate these pests completely. To my surprise, after I sprayed relentlessly, the roaches couldn't stand it and scurried into the car. I hastily opened the car door to pursue them, and a small object rolled out from under the seat, landing at my feet. It was a smooth, round, black bottle, with only a string of English letters on it. I'd never seen anything like it and picked it up curiously. Then I realized the English words were for a well-known adult novelty brand. My heart sank. I immediately pulled out my phone and used the photo recognition feature on Taba. Extended pleasure, safe for intimate contact appeared in bold text. The product image was identical to the item in my hand. It was male enhancement spray. For men. The blood in my veins ran cold. I stood frozen, my fingers trembling uncontrollably. Marcus and I hadn't been intimate for 3 years. Every time I made a move, he'd always make excuses, saying he was tired from work or not in the mood. If I pushed it, he'd even get angry, scolding me that I was a mother now and should focus on raising Chloe instead of thinking about such sordid things. I felt so wronged. Chloe was already so big, she didn't need my constant attention. Besides, how could something between a husband and wife be called sordid? Seeing his anger, I didn't dare bring it up again. I'd heard that men tend to struggle with intimacy after the age of 25. And was almost 40. Perhaps he was just incapable. But I never imagined he was only incapable with me. He had secretly bought this, and I had no idea who he intended to use it with. A funny video I'd scrolled past earlier flashed through my mind. A mom, wanting to see the handsome coach at a training class every day, signed her son up for an entire year of expensive gymnastics class. I thought back to how Marcus had recently insisted on enrolling Chloe in dance studio, even driving her there and picking her up every day. Each session lasted 3 hours. A wave of panic washed over me. I had met Chloe's dance teacher. She was a woman 10 years younger than me, slender and beautiful. Could be involved with her? She was young and attractive, while I was past my prime. How could I compete with her? A sharp pain in my chest almost made me black out. My mind went blank, my legs trembled, and I floated back to the room like a zombie. My heart felt like it had fallen into an icy abyss, heavy and cold. Marcus was showering in the bathroom. I tiptoed into the study. His laptop was open, the screen still on his WeChat chat. I scrolled through his message list. Other than work and family, it was just his college roommate and gaming buddy. I went through it several times, but found no suspicious chat records. Then, on a strange impulse, I opened his cloud drive and found a folder several dozen gigabytes in size. I clicked it open, and it was full of photos and videos of a man and a woman together. The photos and videos were extremely explicit, with various poses, some even showing the woman bound in different ways. They were numerous and utterly indecent. Although both individuals wore masks, I recognized the man at a glance. It was Marcus. The scenes in the photos varied. Most were in a car, but some were in a restroom, woods, or open field. I recognized those places, the dance studio restroom and the nearby park. Disgusting. My mind went blank, a sharp ringing in my ears. My stomach churned, and intense emotions transformed into physical pain. I clutched my mouth and ran out of the study, vomiting into the trash can. Marcus came out after his shower. Seeing my pale face, he looked worried and pulled me into his embrace. "Grace, are you feeling unwell? You look terrible." His gentle voice filled my ears. I turned to meet his tender gaze, my heart aching, and tears streamed down my face. Seeing me cry, Marcus's brow furrowed with concern, and he fumbled to wipe away my tears. "What's wrong, sweetheart? If something's bothering you, you can tell me. Don't keep it bottled up." I sniffed, forced a smile, feigning composure, and said, "Nothing, I just miss my parents. When my parents died in a car accident, I had just graduated from college." Marcus, who was my boyfriend at the time, held my hand and knelt beside their caskets at the funeral home. He swore he would take care of me and be good to me forever, asking them to rest assured. But now, he was cheating. Lying in bed, I couldn't fall asleep. Just then, the mattress beside me dipped, and Marcus wrapped his arms around me from behind. As usual, he slipped his arm under my neck so I could rest my head on it. Once, this position brought me immense comfort, but now, I only wanted to escape. Biting my lip to hold back tears, I began, "Marcus, are you?" Before I could finish, Marcus's phone chimed a few times. He kept one arm around me and used the other to tap his phone screen. I heard his breathing suddenly quicken, as if he was in great discomfort. Reflecting in the mirror on the nightstand, I saw several selfies of a woman twisting her body. The poses were provocative and alluring. Marcus put his phone down, pretending nothing was amiss. But in the middle of the night, after I had fallen asleep, he tiptoed out of bed. Faint sounds came from the restroom. I opened my eyes, quietly walked over, and crouched by the restroom door to listen. A woman's voice came from inside. "Sweet. You were amazing last time. I'm still sore." Marcus's voice was low and hoarse. "My sweetie, I'll put medicine on you tomorrow. My sweetie misses you so much." Marcus was breathing raggedly, his voice tightening. "I miss you too, sweetie. Wait for me in the parking lot tomorrow. We'll do something exciting." "Am I better, or is your wife better?" The woman's voice was feigning coyness. "Don't even mention that stick in the mud. You're so much more thrilling. You have no idea what a miserable life I had before I met you again." Through the light from the restroom, I vaguely saw the shadow of Marcus's hand moving below his waist. Tears instantly blurred my vision. I walked back to the bed and collapsed weakly onto it. After a few minutes, he walked out of the restroom. I buried my head under the covers like an ostrich, pretending nothing had happened. I don't know how much time passed, but I eventually fell asleep. When I woke up, Marcus was sleeping quietly beside me. For a moment, I almost thought last night's events were just a dream. Marcus, as usual, didn't seem to notice anything amiss with me. At the dining table, Chloe hesitated for a long time before timidly speaking up. "Daddy, I don't like dancing. Can I stop going to class?" Since she started dance studio, Chloe had to go to class right after school every day and practiced for 3 hours. She'd come home too exhausted to even eat, falling asleep while eating several times. Her chubby little face was visibly thinning. I felt heartbroken seeing this, and had mentioned it to Marcus. But he was dismissive. "You're giving up after learning for such a short time. Chloe is just too lazy, she has no perseverance. No wonder she only ever gets second place in exams. You can't coddle her like this. What if she gives up halfway on everything in the future? How long can we bail her out?" He spoke with righteous indignation. I was convinced too, thinking it was for Chloe's own good. After all, learning to dance could give her a special skill and cultivate grace. Now, looking back, it was just an excuse Marcus made to facilitate his affair. Hearing's words, Marcus frowned, his face clouded with displeasure. "Ms. Isabella said you're very talented, and there's a dance competition next month. She even wants to recommend you as the lead dancer. How can you give up now? Chloe is only 10 years old, and she practices dance until 9 every night. Her knees are bruised." I lifted Chloe's pant leg, revealing her pale knees covered in purple bruises. Marcus shot me a look of disapproval. "I've already paid the competition registration fee. Can she just not participate now? You don't work, so you don't know how hard it is to earn money. What kind of competition requires a child to practice 3 hours every day?" My voice involuntarily rose. "And you never cared about these things before. Why are you so invested now?" He tugged at his tie irritably, avoiding my gaze. "What's wrong with me considering my daughter's future? Do you have to argue with me over such a small matter?" Seeing the tension, Chloe, her eyes red-rimmed, tugged on my sleeve. "It's okay, Mommy. Don't argue. I'll go. I'll keep learning." My heart twisted with pain seeing her obedient and understanding demeanor. I had to stand firm for once. "I disagree," I said loudly, staring directly at Marcus. "She's my daughter too. Don't I consider her future? Her studies are so demanding right now. She comes back from dance practice and does homework until 1 in the morning. She doesn't even get enough sleep. How can she participate in a dance competition? If you don't go and tell them, I'll go to the dance studio myself and tell the teacher we're withdrawing and want a refund." My strong stance clearly angered Marcus. He slammed his bowl onto the table, glaring at me with a sullen face. "Grace, are you out of your mind? Does what I say go in this house, or what you say?" He had always been very controlling. To pu. It nicely, he was patriarchal. To put it bluntly, he was utterly selfish. Remembering what I saw on his laptop, my heart burned with fury. Slap, I slapped Marcus across the face. He stared at me in disbelief, his face instantly turning ashen. "Grace!" He gritted his teeth as he snarled my name. Chloe hid in my embrace, terrified. Clutching her small body, I faced Marcus's menacing glare, meeting his eyes without flinching. I said, "She's not learning." He clenched his jaw, his face flushed then pale. "What are you doing?" "It's just dance." "How could that possibly exhaust her? Everyone else can stick with it, why can't she?" I pointed at Chloe's face and said loudly, "Do you see her dark circles? What 10-year-old child works this hard?" Kids who attend dance studio like this are usually preparing for performing arts schools, but Chloe's always at the top of her class. She doesn't need to go down that path. Marcus stood up abruptly, looking down at me. "Do you have to make such a big deal out of nothing? With your temper, only I could put up with you. Anyone else would have divorced you already." Unable to argue with me, he resorted to personal attacks. I scoffed. I had never imagined he could be so shameless. "Are you done making a scene?" He shot me a look of disgust and walked out the door without a backward glance. "You're acting like a shrew right now. You need to calm down." "Daddy," Chloe's sobbing voice rang out. "Don't call me." With a deafening slam of the door, the room instantly fell silent. Only sobs broke the silence. Forcing back the sharp pain in my heart, I held my terrified daughter close. "Don't be scared, sweetie, don't be scared. Mommy's here, Mommy will protect you." After taking Chloe to school, I dragged my exhausted body home. Taking a deep breath, I began clearing the dishes from the table. Marcus's bowl had a glaring crack from where he'd slammed it down. I gave a bitter smile. Our marriage, like this bowl, had an irreparable crack. I didn't know how long Marcus had been with that woman. And I had only just found out now. This matter felt like a thorn piercing my heart. I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I decided to confront that woman. When I arrived at the dance studio, the woman at the front desk told me, Ms. Isabella, Chloe's dance teacher, was out sick for a few days and hadn't come to work. I paused. It had been raining for days, yet Marcus had still driven Chloe to and from class, rain or shine, clearly to meet his mistress. And they had agreed to meet again last night. If Isabella wasn't there, then which woman was Marcus having an affair with? I looked around. There were many female teachers at the dance studio, all slender and young beauties. Last night, listening through the door, the woman's voice wasn't clear, so I couldn't tell who it was. And I couldn't possibly confront all the teachers based on my mere suspicion. My mind was a tangled mess, and I couldn't make sense of anything. I stumbled through the day in a daze. In the afternoon, it was time for Chloe's dance class. Just as I was about to leave to catch him in the act, I received a call from the hospital, saying Marcus had been rushed to the emergency room. He'd collapsed in the car after inhaling toxic fumes. His condition was critical, and he needed immediate surgery. The doctor asked me to come sign the consent form right away. I jumped, grabbed my phone, and ran out. When I arrived at the hospital, my hands were trembling as I signed the consent form. The paramedics nearby gave me mixed glances. I asked them what had happened. One paramedic pulled out a bottle. I froze. It was the bug spray I had used that day. "This stuff is highly toxic," and the car door was stuck. "When we arrived, your husband was foaming at the mouth and convulsing. He didn't look good." I felt like I was struck by lightning, frozen in place. How could this happen? Suddenly, I remembered the male enhancement spray I had seen that day. Could have. He accidentally sprayed himself with the bug spray, mistaking it for the other one? I suddenly felt like laughing, but at the same time, I was worried. No matter what Marcus had done to wrong me, he was still Chloe's father. I didn't want anything to happen to him. Moreover, he was the one who supported this family. Seeing my distorted expression, the paramedic thought I was grief-stricken. He patted my shoulder sympathetically, hesitated, and then left. I quickly called Margaret and asked her to pick up Chloe. As soon as Margaret arrived, she poked my forehead with her finger. "How could something suddenly happen? Look at you, you can't even take care of your own husband. What do you do all day at home?" I hung my head silently, just holding Chloe close. "Mommy, what happened to Daddy?" Chloe cried sadly. I gently patted her back, comforting her. "Don't worry, Daddy will be fine. If anything happened, he was reaping what he sowed." "Stop crying. You're giving me a headache." Margaret roughly pulled Chloe and me up, then sat down on the chair herself. She frowned and scolded me loudly. "You can't even take care of your own man, what good are you?" I already had a ball of fire building in my chest, and hearing her words only made me angrier. I couldn't help but talk back. "Mom, Marcus is a grown man. He should be able to take care of himself. What does that have to do with me? Are you blaming my son for being unlucky now?" Margaret's brows furrowed, shouting at me. "You haven't worked since you got pregnant. My son gives you $6,000 a month and provides for you. Instead of being grateful, you're saying he deserved what happened? Do you have a conscience? Too lazy to argue with her, I secretly rolled my eyes. From the start of my pregnancy, I had severe morning sickness, dry heaving until my stomach bled, and was so weak I had to be hospitalized. I couldn't go to work at all. After was born, my vaginal discharge persisted for over a year, and I kept going to the hospital, taking traditional Chinese medicine to recover. I balanced raising Chloe with managing the household. Years passed unknowingly. Although gave me $6,000 a month, $4,800 went to the house and car loans, leaving $1,200, which wasn't even enough for groceries. I had to write articles and sell them to magazines, using the royalties to subsidize our expenses. My mother-in-law had always disapproved of me, often complaining about me being a stay-at-home mom and not contributing enough financially. Look at your neighborhood, everyone else has a second or third child, so lively and bustling. What about you? After all these years, not a single good news. You're a hen that can't lay eggs. Pfft. Margaret continued to lecture me, getting more and more out of line, spitting as she spoke. Other patient families, also waiting for surgery results, couldn't stand it anymore. They frowned and glared at her. Excuse me, ma'am, can you please stop shouting? Everyone here is upset, and you're being very annoying. A tall man ferociously yelled at Margaret, making her face alternate between red and pale. She dared not yell anymore, instead shooting me a resentful glare. After a while, the operating room door opened, and the doctor came out. The patient's poisoning is severe. The toxic gas has already infiltrated his lungs. We need to perform open-chest surgery now, the doctor said with a grim face. A nurse immediately handed me a consent form for open-chest surgery, asking me to sign. I quickly signed my name. Margaret stomped her foot anxiously, asking, "Doctor, what happened to my son? How did he suddenly get poisoned?" The doctor's eyes fell on me, filled with sympathy. He sighed and said, "This matter, you should ask your son yourself once he wakes up." The doctor then re-entered the operating room. Margaret pointed at my forehead and cursed, "I shouldn't have let him marry you. You city folk are all spoiled, you Salis, can't even take care of your own husband. Worthless. And you gave our Zhou family a disappointment." I covered Chloe's ears, my face hardening as I stared directly at her. Margaret was startled by my expression. "What are you doing? You dare to glare at me? Once my son gets better, I'll make him teach you a good lesson." I bit my lip, suppressing the urge to argue with her. Shouting in a place like this was simply embarrassing. A long while later, the doctor finally came out of the operating room and nodded at us. "The patient is out of danger. He'll be transferred to the intensive care unit once he regains consciousness." I breathed a sigh of relief, patting Chloe, whose face was full of fear. "Don't be scared, sweetie, Daddy's okay." The nurses pushed Marcus into the recovery room. As soon as he woke up, Margaret anxiously rushed over, clutching his hand, utterly worried. "Son, does it hurt?" Marcus, wearing an oxygen mask, was pale and weakly shook his head. "Mom, I'm fine." His voice was unusually hoarse, and he coughed after speaking, looking as if he was in great pain. I watched with a cold eye. "Son, what happened to you? The doctor said you were poisoned. What's going on?" Margaret asked anxiously. I stared at Marcus, saying nothing. A flicker of guilt crossed his eyes, and he forced a strained smile. I accidentally pressed the bug spray and sprayed myself." This excuse was full of holes, but Margaret didn't doubt his words in the slightest. She turned and glared fiercely at me again. "Why did you leave bug spray in the car? Were you deliberately trying to kill my son? You vicious woman, were you trying to kill him to steal his assets?" Seeing my pale face, Marcus quickly reached out and restrained his mother. "Mom, stop talking nonsense. It was my own mistake. It has nothing to do with Grace." The hospital room door suddenly swung open, and a woman supporting an 4-pole walked in. As soon as she saw Marcus, she rushed to his side, sobbing "NCA. Ling out, sweetie, I'm so glad you're okay. You had me so worried. If anything happened to you, how could I live without you, sweetie?" This woman was voluptuous and also wearing a hospital gown. She tightly clutched Marcus's hands, tears streaming down her face. The moment I saw her, my breath caught. I had seen this woman before. The first day Marcus and I took Chloe to dance studio, I saw her by the dance studio restroom door. She was wearing a janitor's uniform, and though she was older, she was dressed meticulously, even with the latest trending influencer makeup. Her eye makeup, featuring exaggerated under-eye brightening, was so flashy it almost blinded me, and her lips were glossed exaggeratedly. The woman Marcus was having an affair with was Darlene. My legs suddenly gave out, and I nearly collapsed. I hadn't lost to a beautiful young woman, but to a janitor. I never imagined Marcus had such a fetish. What in the world was going on? I almost wanted to make the classic facepalm gesture. I even wanted to quote a line from a well-known drama series. Marcus's eyes were fixed solely on the woman in front of him. Seeing her so distraught, he raised his drip-covered hand to wipe away her tears. The next moment, he suddenly realized there were other people in the room, and he abruptly withdrew his hand. Marcus, who is this? I pretended to be heartbroken as I asked him, my voice trembling uncontrollably. He spun around to face me, his face turning ashen. His eyes darted nervously, revealing his guilt, and his lips quivered, but he couldn't utter a word. Darlene saw me too. She turned to me with a triumphant smirk, tilted her chin, and said, "Your sweetie's wife? You're hideous." Her eyes gleamed with provocation. And I was just speechless. Even with rosy blush, she couldn't hide the wrinkles on her face. "Gee Grace, she's my friend," Marcus stammered, but wasn't intimidated in the slightest. She playfully tapped his chest with a small fist. "Sweet. Why are you scared of her? Is there anything shameful about our relationship?" Marcus, having just had surgery, nearly choked from her punch. The heart rate monitor showed wild fluctuations. Margaret stared at the woman, then at her son. Her eyes widened progressively. She tremblingly pointed at the woman. "Darlene? You're Darlene? What are you doing here?" The woman turned to her, swaying her hips, a bashful smile on her face. "Margaret, it's me, your Darlene." Margaret then reacted, rushing forward and grabbing Darlene's arm. "So, Darlene, I thought you had already died. I can't believe you're seducing my son again. You shameless old woman. Do you have a death wish?" Margaret grabbed her hair and started wildly punching her face. I looked at them in disbelief, then turned to Margaret. "What do you mean? They've already been involved?" Before could answer, another man walked in from outside. "Mom, what are you doing?" The man pulled Darlene away, then glared angrily at Margaret. "Who are you? Why are you hitting my mom?" The moment he saw Margaret's face, he froze. "Margaret? Is that you?" I looked at the four of them, completely confused. My gut told me this wasn't simple. I ushered Chloe out the door. "Sweetie, Mommy needs to talk to Daddy. Call and ask her to pick you up and take you home first." Chloe obediently nodded, picked up her smartwatch, and called my best friend, Sarah. "You, Darlene, you're a persistent nuisance. At your age, you're still so indecent, dressed up like a seductress to tempt my son." Margaret's face was contorted with rage, and she pointed at Darlene, cursing loudly. Her loud voice attracted a crowd. "TSK, that guy is cheating with an old woman? He must be desperate. Wow, that old woman's makeup makes me sick just looking at her. How could he stand her? His wife is so much prettier than that old woman. What kind of taste is that?" I heard they both passed out together in the car and were brought to the hospital. They were bought naked when they arrived. Who knows what they were doing in the car? What else could they be doing? Just that kind of thing. Can that old woman even handle it? Margaret's anger flared even higher, and she spun around, roaring at them. "What are you staring at? Nothing to see here. Get lost, all of you." She stomped her foot, cursing at the onlookers. "Stare any longer, and I'll gouge out your eyes." "Grace, let me explain." Marcus nervously reached out to grab my hand. I took a step back, dodging his hand. "Explain what?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Explain why you know the janitor from the dance studio? Explain why you're out for 3 hours every day? Or explain how you got poisoned and ended up in the hospital?" Margaret shoved me hard. "Grace, what kind of attitude is that? My son is injured, and you're still yelling at him. Do you have a conscience?" I couldn't believe my ears. Her son was involved with another woman, and was scolding me. I suppressed my rage. "Mom, you know this woman? Your son's mistress. What's your relationship with her?" Margaret's face flushed scarlet, and, sobbing profusely, threw herself into Marcus's arms. "Sweetie, she's so mean. You have to protect your sweetie." Darlene's son looked mortified, almost wanting to disappear into the floor. He tugged Darlene's hand. "Mom, stop it. Let's go home. There are so many people here," but refused to comply. She shook off his hand and clung tightly to Marcus. "Sweetie and I are true love. No one can separate us." My vision swam. At her age, calling someone old enough to be her son's sweetie. Seeing this, Marcus quickly pushed her away. "Speak properly. Don't act like this." Darlene pouted tearfully, her eyes brimming with tears as she looked at him, then bit her glossy lips. "Sweetie, are you scolding me? You're scolding your sweetie. Sweetie, don't you love me anymore? You clearly said I was your only little sweetie. that our love was stronger than gold, and that we'd be together forever. The more she spoke, the greener Margaret's face grew. She rushed forward and tightly grabbed Darlene's arm. Darlene, are you out of your mind? What nonsense are you talking about here? Get out of here right now. Darlene violently shook off her hand, glaring at her with red eyes. Why are you scolding me? You were the one who said back then that I should help your son relieve stress. If it weren't for me, do you think your son would have successfully gotten into college? The hospital room fell silent. Everyone's eyes widened, holding their breath, their faces lighting up with anticipation of juicy gossip. Someone quietly raised their phone, pointing the camera at us. Mom, Marcus, what does she mean? I was dumbfounded. Darlene was biting her lip, her eyes looking pitifully at Marcus. Her feigned helplessness made me sick. Seeing his pale face and silence, Darlene put her hands on her hips, then turned and glared viciously at me. Sweetie said I'm the only one he loves. You're just a tool for having children. Anger instantly flared in my heart, and without hesitation, I raised my hand and slapped her across the face. The loud slap made everyone gasp. Darlene fell onto the hospital bed from the force of my slap, landing right on Marcus's wound. He shrieked in agony. Darlene's son looked mortified. He quickly stepped forward, pulled her away, grabbed her hands, and held her firmly. Mom, there are so many people here. Please stop embarrassing yourself. Darlene was unyielding. Embarrassing myself? Who's embarrassing themselves? Sweetie and I are true love. She turned to Margaret. Margaret, when we were neighbors, you called me good sister and said I was pretty and gentle, and that I should help your son relieve stress. I took care of your son for a whole year. And as soon as he got into college, you moved away. Do you know how long I looked for him? Darlene wouldn't stop until she dropped a bombshell. She then grabbed Marcus's hand, gazing at him with affection. Until that day, when I met Sweetie on the street, I recognized him immediately. He was still that naive young man, and I could tell from his eyes that he still had feelings for me. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Everyone's faces were a mix of shock and speechlessness, like they were getting juicy gossip but didn't know what to make of it. Holy cow, so these two had already been involved for ages. Is that how you relieve stress? Oh my god, my mind is blown. That's not something to emulate. Someone had already opened an app and started live streaming. Folks, get your popcorn ready. Come see the universe's purest boys' sweet romance. The live stream was incredibly popular, even trending as the top local story. Many netizens in the comments were saying they were coming to watch in person. I wanted to laugh seeing those comments. Margaret was nearly insane with rage. She picked up the hospital kettle and aimed to throw hot water at Darlene. You old fool. You still dare to tempt my son. I'll burn your worthless hussy. Darlene shrieked and swayed her hips, dodging the attack. As a result, the entire kettle of scalding hot water spilled onto Marcus. Marcus yelped in agony, "Ah! Help me! It hurts so much, it hurts so much." The doctor outside heard the commotion and struggled to push through the crowd and ran in. He looked at Marcus's condition, then shook his head gravely at us. The patient's wound has reopened. We need to address it immediately. You all need to leave. Nurses also came to clear the room. Sweetie, you'll be okay. Darlene reluctantly gazed at Marcus, who had fainted from pain on the bed. Her son, standing beside her, had a look of utter despair. Walking out of the hospital room, he fell to his knees in front of me. I'm sorry, I didn't know they did those things before. My mom's mental state deteriorated after my dad beat her and divorced her for a younger girl. She always fantasizes she's 18. I looked at him pathetically and shook my head. This isn't your fault. It has nothing to do with you. Margaret collapsed to the ground, crying hysterically. What a mess. How did I get involved with this hussy? It's all my fault, all my fault. After his wound was treated, the sweating doctor came out, shook his head helplessly, and told us, the patient's injuries are severe. Don't agitate him anymore. I walked in and quietly looked at Marcus, then asked him directly. How long have you two been together? Marcus avoided my gaze, his face filled with guilt. F4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6 months. Chloe had only been attending dance studio for 3 months, which meant he had specifically enrolled Chloe in this class just to facilitate his affair. My vision swam, and I nearly fell. My best friend, Sarah, who had just arrived, quickly stepped forward to support me, offering me a comforting look. I nodded gratefully at her, then turned to Marcus, my face devoid of emotion, and said, let's get a divorce. Chloe will live with me. The color drained from his face instantly. His lips trembled as he looked at me sadly, saying, Grace, I was wrong. I just momentarily lost my way. Can you please forgive me? Don't divorce me, I can't live without you. And is still so young, you don't want her to grow up without a father, do you? Chloe walked in, took my hand, and shook her head at him. Daddy made mommy sad. I don't want daddy anymore. Marcus's eyes widened, his face turning even paler, and he stammered, unable to speak. I hugged Chloe tightly, my heart aching. Sarah spat fiercely at him. Ugh. You scumbag, you're not worthy of my friend. You're a toad chasing a frog, a shameless pair of lowlifes. I took off my wedding ring and threw it down in front of him without hesitation. From today on, I, Grace, am cutting ties completely with you. Sarah sneered, her eyes glaring at his face like knives. Bitch. Marcus started crying in agony. Darlene, seizing the opportunity, slip head through the crowd and leaned delicately against him. Sweetie, don't be sad, you still have me. Didn't you say you hated that rigid woman? How could she make you happy like I can? Sweetie, now we can be together forever. David's face turned ashen, and he fled, covering his face, but reached out and roughly pushed her away. Get lost, you bitch. This is all your fault. You drove my wife away. I never want to see you again. Darlene fell to the ground and started crying, feigning helplessness. Sweetie, why are you doing this to me? This can't be what you truly feel. You clearly love me the most. Didn't you say it was exciting to be with me? I even bought you so many intimate toys and costumes. Sweetie, don't you want to see me in my pretty intimate costumes anymore? Margaret was so distraught she started banging her head against the wall. Oh, the sins. The sins. They're all my doing. I calmly turned around and walked away, holding Chloe's and Sarah's hands. Sarah hugged me. Grace, don't be afraid. I'm all alone anyway, so I'll help you take care of Chloe from now on. Hearing this, my eyes welled up with tears instantly, and I nodded at her, deeply moved. 3 months later, the court's divorce decree was issued. The evidence of Marcus's marital infidelity was confirmed, and the judge ruled that he leave with nothing. All marital assets would belong to me, and Chloe was also granted to my custody. Meanwhile, Marcus, who was in the hospital, was on his last breath due to severe poisoning, coupled with emotional agitation after surgery, which caused his wounds to repeatedly tear and become infected. Darlene was also in Marcus's car at the time, but she hadn't inhaled as much gas as Marcus and was discharged from the hospital soon after. However, after this incident, Marcus, whom she had longed for over a decade, also abandoned her. She suffered a tremendous psychological blow, and her mental state deteriorated further. She started running out of the house every day, chasing after any young man she saw and calling him sweetie, even making it onto the local news. Her son, David, had no choice but to send her to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. The day I received my divorce certificate, I got a call from the hospital saying Marcus had died. I paused for a moment, then replied, "It has nothing to do with me anymore. I'm no longer his wife." Understood. Sorry to bother you. The nurse hung up the phone. Recalling the events of 3 months ago, it felt like a lifetime had passed. Back home, seeing Chloe's sweet and adorable smile, I couldn't resist gently pinching her cheek. Good, she'd put on a little weight during this time. I had gained Marcus's property and house, and from now on, I would accompany Chloe as she grew up healthy and happy. Thank you for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.